You flew in the Black Aces, which was the most elite aviation squadron in the Navy.
So it's nothing like Top Gun. I had my first flight on 9/11.
Did it scare the shit out of you?
It did. I don't know if I can drop a nuclear weapon.
So there was literally no one.
I felt very alone.
UFOs.
We saw something strange that day.
The way that I can relate to this is watching Grey's Anatomy.
What the fuck is that?
Okay, sweetie.
Okay, sweetie.
Okay, sweetie. Okay, sweetie.
Okay, sweetie.
The Okay, Sweetie show. Strike fighter pilot.
Yeah.
And you were piloting the FA-18s.
FA-18.
Wow. And when did you stop doing that?
So my last flight in the FA-18 was in 2007.
Okay. Oh my gosh. We have so many questions for you. We're so excited to talk to you. Thank you so much for making time.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
I'm pretty much, I guess I can't generalize the majority of people, but I would say my knowledge of FA-18 strike fighter, I already messed it up, believe it or not, Top Gun.
Yes.
So can you just tell me a little bit of the insider knowledge? Tell me a little bit about the day on the job.
Of a strike fighter pilot.
Yeah.
So it's nothing like Top Gun. We don't spend half our day playing volleyball.
That scene on the beach, it was like, this seems great.
But we do have a lot of fun. We say we work hard and we play hard. And that's what we are known for as a culture, is working hard and having fun. It's hard to say a day in the life because no 2 days are the same. It's more of a cycle of deployments, being operational, going out and doing the work on the front lines, and then coming back and recovering, having some downtime, and then training. So getting ready for that next cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So exactly.
Out of that cycle, was the deployment your favorite?
I mean, there's benefits to each. For the training or the workup phase, you are traveling to interesting places around the United States. So we went to Alaska for an extended detachment. So instead of a deployment, we call it a detachment. So that was very cool.
Part of our research that we found out about you was that one of the reasons you got into the Navy was because it was a source of adventure for you.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Exactly, yes. So when I was in high school and trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, I had a high school college counselor who said, you have to declare a major and you have to have a career plan, you have to have it all figured out. And
You're 17 years old. You're like, So
Yes.
this was at a STEM boarding school?
Yes.
Okay.
Illinois Math and Science Academy. Shout out to my folks at IMSA.
Shout out to the folks at IMSA.
Yes. That's where I learned how to think, and that's where I learned to think critically. And then when this guy said, hey, you've got to lock it in and lock it down, I said, absolutely not. I'm going to explore the world and have an adventure, and it seemed like the Navy was a good place to do that because I watched Top Gun.
Okay, I was going to say,
yes.
Were other kids around you doing military stuff as well?
No.
Was your family a military family at all?
No. I mean, both of my grandfathers were in World War II.
Yeah, all of our grandfathers were in World War II,
Yes,
I feel like.
exactly. But there wasn't a legacy in my family of military service, and so it was really foreign idea, but it was a peacetime Navy. So this was in 1995, 96. And so the idea of going into the Navy was that you would be on these extended training operations, and that if you went on deployment, it was to the Mediterranean, and your port calls would be in Italy, and these exotic sort of romanticized European places. And
did they live up to the fantasy, even though you were military training? The places?
So, no, because I went through ROTC and I graduated in May of 2001. And that's when I went down to flight school in Corpus Christi, Texas. And I had my first flight on 9/11.
Wow.
So in a moment in that day, everything changed for the world. And then for me, I realized, oh my gosh, it's not about me. It's not about my selfish adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I've taken an oath. I've raised my right hand. I'm an officer in the military. What does that mean? And how do I contribute in a meaningful way? So I went from it's all about me and my adventure to
wow,
it's not at all about me.
You're like, I'm just a young girl trying to see the world. I'm going to join the Navy. I'm going to fly around. This is going to be awesome. And then
all my deployments were to the Persian Gulf.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your first flight, what feelings did that
So
evoke?
the first flight that I had I still have the photo. I mean, this was like the original selfie with those little disposable cameras
Yeah.
that you wound up. I don't know, like
They're
click.
still like trendy sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
As party favors or
Yes,
something.
exactly.
Yes. So I still remember, and I still have that picture, and I'm just in my gear, and it's a sunny day, and I'm in front of the T-34 Charlie. This is a little turboprop plane, and I'm excited because this is day one, right? It's all
new.
happening.
Yeah. Your adventure's starting.
The adventure is right now.
Yeah.
And then as the morning unfolded, everything it was awful. And it was this moment of realization that, trying to grapple with like what matters and what are we doing and what does it mean to be a human being right now? Just all very heavy. So
I was like maybe going to try to get into this later to like warm you up because it's kind of a big question. But I mean, we can just talk a little bit about the values of when you're going into the military, right? Because you're kind of, tell me if I'm wrong at any point also, but it feels like to me you're sort of maybe trading in a sense of like individuality for this bigger, broader sense of purpose and community and like service. Mm-hmm. Can you speak to that at all? Like,
you said it very well. I'm going to have you come to the Naval Academy and give a lecture.
I'm like, I never know anything about the military. But yeah, like,
yes.
But how does that affect you as a person?
It's important. Let me just say that it's important that you have that perspective, because in my time teaching at my tenure at the Naval Academy, teaching in the Department of Leadership, Ethics, and Law, this is something that we really emphasize to the students, those future Naval and Marine Corps officers, is that there is a trust and confidence that the American citizen has in the military, that we are going to uphold the oath, which for an officer is to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And so when we break that trust, when we have scandals or fraud, waste, and abuse, or anything that comes out as antithetical to that agreement, that contract that we have, literally and figuratively, because when you sign up for the military, you sign a contract. Mm-hmm. But when you take that oath and you put on the fabric of the nation, when you put on a uniform, you then as a citizen, as an American, look at it and say, no matter who's in that uniform, I can trust them. And I trust that when they are going forward into harm's way on behalf of us as a country, that they're following the rule of law, that they are not going to commit a war crime, that they're going to be good stewards of our treasure, mm-hmm. Our taxpayer dollars, and that they're going to come back and tell the story authentically. And of course, you've seen conflicts like Vietnam where
there's like a lot of kind of scandal, right, within the military.
Well, it comes up occasionally, but it does come up, and we air it out.
Yeah, okay.
Which is good, right? And we don't shy away from it at the military academies and saying, let's look at what happened in Vietnam. You have these instances where it's good and healthy to have a thorough accounting of what happened, who was involved, why did it unfold the way that it did, and then how do we learn from that so that when we go forward into the next generation of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, that we maintain this bond that's so important.
Do you feel like that mentality and that sort of community service type of way of living is like, did you have to sacrifice anything of your individuality for that, or would you say like that's the way to go?
Going into the military?
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And that's part of that plebe summer experience at an academy or boot camp. If you see, the sort of Hollywood version, or there's documentaries out there. There is part of, we say breaking them down to build them back up. So there's part of saying, hey, it's not about you and your ego. You are now a part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of team building exercises that at the time feel very intense and sometimes like hazing, that you realize afterwards, oh, I was learning in that moment the function of the team is more important than my personal comfort or my personal performance.
Right. I don't really know how the process works, and I don't know that I necessarily need to know fully how the process works, but you obviously had some semblance of a choice that you wanted to be an FA-18 pilot, right?
Yes. So this is something where you put in your preference for which community you want to go into first. So I want to drive ships. I want to fly planes. I want to be a Navy SEAL.
Yeah.
You put in your preference, and then it's based on the needs of the Navy. So they say,
Okay.
okay, this year we need 20 ship drivers. We need 10 pilots. We need 3 Navy SEALs.
Mm-hmm.
And so based off of what you've put down as your preference, what they need, they'll do it's a sorting.
And hopefully you get the one you want. It's like
Yeah.
Harry Potter, like with the hat.
The sorting. I wish it was that easy.
Were you excited to get like, was that the one you wanted, and that's the one?
So
you
I
got
wanted
picked for?
aviation, and so I went to flight school. And yeah, again, I was just very like, hey, I want to have an adventure. I want to do cool things. And so post 9/11, I was already type A. I was already wired for work. You know, I would study hard. I would go into the simulators and practice. But my motivation shifted from I'm doing it for me to get the best grades and scores that I can get to have a fun time
Mm-hmm.
and an opportunity to I need to do well because I'm actually going to go do real missions that matter.
Did it scare the shit out of you?
It did. It did. It completely changed everything.
How
It
do
was
you
a
even deal with
paradigm
that?
shift.
Because they're like, you are going to go into combat.
Yeah.
And you're going to be dropping bombs on people. Did you ever regret it?
No, I never had a moment of regret. I never had a moment of regret. There was one moment, the first simulator that I had in the FA-18. I get into it, and there's a sim instructor. So these are retired guys who flew, back in the day, and now they, fly a console at the simulator building. They're great. And this sim, we weren't even taking off. This was the FAM 0, I think we call it, or FAM 1, where you just learn where the switches and dials are.
Oh my gosh.
And so I have a checklist on my knee board, and I am going through, and I say, okay, this, and you touch it, and this, and you touch it, and this, and you touch it. And I go through the whole start checklist, just trying to orient to where these things are. And I get to the last switch on the checklist, and it's the nuke weapon, NUC weapon enable switch. And I said, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, don't worry about it. You'll probably never need to use that.
What if my elbow hits it?
Well, I mean, you have to have something actually loaded on the aircraft for it to matter. But I had this moment where my entire sense of what am I doing? And am I cut out for this? And can I do this?
Yeah.
Like we say gyro is like the thing that keeps you upright and oriented. Like my gyro tumbled.
Whoa.
In that moment where I just said, I don't know if I can drop a nuclear weapon.
Well, then what? Then you just were like, well, I have to? Like, how'd you keep going?
Well, he was like, oh, you probably won't have to. He was like, let's
cool.
move on to the next thing. And,
whoa.
but yeah, I remember losing sleep that night.
Yeah. Okay. Other than the adventure that you're seeking, once that kind of dawns on you, like, might have to be dropping nuclear weapons. Definitely going to have to be dropping bombs. Gonna be in this fighter jet.
Yeah.
Fighter strike jet. You know what I'm trying to say. Was there a feeling that you were trying to get with this job? Like, or was it just a sense of you had to do it because you were there? Like, are you trying to, like, do you have, like, a thrill-seeking gene type of thing?
No. Again, I think I'm wired for...
Just
wired for work. I can't sit still. My husband says I always need a chew toy, right? Like on the weekends, I can't just relax. I can't just sit on the couch. I'm like, oh, well, let's do something.
Let's fly a fucking jet. Like, it's so
let's
sick.
Go and so I don't sit still very well. And so if there's a project, if there's a challenge, and it does have to be purposeful, right? So no offense to knitters, but like I don't sit and knit.
No,
like,
yeah,
not
you don't
that
strike
kind of
me as such.
Chew toy.
Right?
I'm like, I need to have something where I can see some results.
Yeah.
And some of it is some satisfaction of like, yeah, I did that, or we did that as a team. That feels good. So I wouldn't describe myself as an adrenaline junkie, and I'm not. I don't tolerate risk well, which is actually a good.
That's shocking.
But it's a good trait to have as a pilot. I mean, you would want to have pilots who want to follow a checklist and don't want to take unnecessary risk.
Because you have to be so precise with everything.
Well,
But isn't the job in itself, it's a risk?
Yeah, there's risks all the time, but there are things we can do to control. And there are things that we can do to train. And there are things that we can do to improve our confidence so that when we are in those risky situations, we're calm.
It's calculated.
Exactly.
But like, someone's shooting at you.
Yes.
That's just like,
yes.
Is there a emotional regulation aspect of it where do you have so much fear and then you just learn to suppress it? Or do you learn some sort of process of compartmentalizing it? You know, like how does that go?
So we teach compartmentalization.
Wow.
We talk about that a lot in early stages of flight school where, if you screwed up your takeoff and rendezvous, you've got a long way to go until you get back, land, and debrief. So we say save it for the debrief. When we're flying, we get into a flow state.
Yeah.
And so, they also talk about the ghost in the cockpit, which is kind of the checklists and the interaction that you have kind of becoming one with the jet so that it's like an extension of your body and your consciousness, right? I want to go this way. Like, how do I go? I don't think, okay, I need to turn and add, you do it. And so the ghost in the cockpit and the flow state are an intense sort of manifestation of this mindfulness and being present in this exact moment.
So do they teach meditation and stuff to go along with it? Or is it sort of just like you're in them, you have to figure it out or you're not?
No. So we didn't do guided meditation or specific meditation, but we do a lot of chair flying. So this whole idea of there aren't any surprises. So when you're getting shot at, it's stressful, but it doesn't feel, you've seen this sight picture before. You know exactly what to do. You know exactly how to maneuver the aircraft. You know exactly what to do with your weapon systems. You know exactly what to say on the radio. So everything is rehearsed. Everything is practiced so that it becomes second nature. It becomes a reflex.
Doesn't necessarily invoke panic.
I've never been panicked. No, you know what? There was one moment where I was pissed, and it wasn't in combat. We were on a training mission, and we were at an outlying field, and there was a mechanical problem with the aircraft, and I lost. We have 2 hide systems. There's some redundancy, and I lost one of the hides. So I was just leaking hide fluid out, and it affected brakes. It affected.
You could have gone down easily.
Yes, we would eject, right, if we needed to, and sort of talking through the checklist. And I said, let me have an attempt at a field arrestment. So this is landing. The tricky part is though that you don't have anti-skid because you've lost the hydraulics. You don't have anti-skid in the tires, and the tires would blow as soon as you touch down. So they brought the arresting cable across the runway. We flew a great pass, and then the hook skipped over the wire. So had to get airborne again, but the tires did blow.
Wow.
And so now we're airborne with nubs instead of tires. And so if we touch down again, the fear is that, one of the nubs would catch and we would flip and game over. So I'm getting airborne, and my wizard was like, well, get ready to eject, basically. And I was like, no, just give me a minute.
You're not panicked. You're pissed. You're figuring it out.
I was pissed. So we got airborne again. I could tell he was going through the we're about to eject checklist. And I said, give me one more chance. And the idea being that he would have his hand on the ejection handle, right? It's between the legs, and be ready to pull as soon as if and when we needed it. So we came back around for another pass, and it was the pass of my life.
With no wheels, you're just nubs.
With no wheels, and I did what's called a fly-in arrestment. And so flew into the gear and, slammed it down. We stopped. All these firefighters and emergency crews from the airport came out in their fire truck and their big silver suits, and they're running out. And in this, because I was still in this angry mode, I said, somebody needs to buy me a sandwich.
Wait, I love that, because it's like gender stereotypes flipped. Because people are like, women, make me a sandwich. And you're like, someone needs to buy me a sandwich.
Yeah, because it was lunchtime.
And did someone buy one?
Yeah, they got us lunch.
Good. Do you feel like humor plays a big part in certain situations like that? Like, are you guys cracking jokes and you kind of have to keep it lighthearted because it's the most intense thing ever?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that gets to that culture of work hard, play hard.
Yeah.
So every aviator that I know has a good sense of humor, has a thick skin.
Well, you flew in the Black Aces, which was the most elite aviation squadron in the Navy.
The absolutely best. We were the first to fight and the first to strike.
The first to fight and the first to strike.
Yeah.
And I just need to like name drop for a second.
Yeah.
Any sweeties who've seen Top Gun Maverick, that's our girl. She's inspired. That girl was inspired by our girl.
She's wearing
Alex.
the VFA 41 patch.
She's wearing the
on her
VFA
flight
41
suit.
patch,
Yeah.
which is yours.
My patch, yeah.
Which, like,
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about first to fight, first to strike?
That's our motto. That's our, on our, not on our main patch, but it's on all of our T-shirts and our swag.
We were awarded a Bronze Star and an Air Combat Medal.
Yes.
Which are both extremely difficult to earn, correct?
They are a recognition of service in particular circumstances and milestones. So the Air Combat Medal for the deployments flying and carrier-based on these deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. And then the Bronze Star was for a boots-on-ground deployment I did after my flying time. They sent me to language school. I learned Afghan Farsi. It's Dari is the language. And I spent about a year on the ground in Afghanistan.
So are those awarded to you because of those two deployments as a whole? Or is there a specific instance that happened within those deployments that then...
Yeah, so in both of those cases, it's a sort of a culminating award and recognition of the different missions that were, they were very different. Right? So flying in the air, even though I was flying in Afghanistan before I went there boots on ground, it's a completely different experience when you're on the ground and living in and among the population.
Do you have any crazy story? Can you tell us like one of the craziest stories that people would like be able to understand?
Well, what might be interesting for your audience?
Yeah.
Of the boots on ground deployment?
Yeah. Or either
both.
one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I'm so interested in being like you and a man in the backseat and you're just flying.
Yes.
Like it's insane.
Yeah. Maybe we'll start boots on ground and work backwards, I guess. My role on that deployment, I was a provincial reconstruction team engineer, which was almost like karma because they said, hey, everything that you blew up in your flying deployments in the F-18, we need you to go back and rebuild because my undergraduate degree is in civil engineering. I wasn't literally building a bridge. I was contracting. I was doing an assessment of whether the bridge made sense. And so I was in a lot of meetings with a lot of men in Afghanistan, both other U.S. military, but then also these Afghan men. And they were always very curious.
About your being a woman?
Yes, because I was, in a lot of these meetings, I was the senior ranking officer, and I was the one in charge, and I was the one who held the checkbook. So if they wanted to build a new school or a new health clinic,
you had to approve it.
Exactly. They called me Hanum engineer, Hanum meaning woman, the woman engineer.
You can't just be an engineer.
No, exactly. Yes. But so there were little nuances. One is that I would wear a headscarf before I was in a building. And then as soon as I would walk through the threshold of the door, I would remove it.
Wow. And
I talked to my team about it, and I said the wearing it outside is because I'm not trying to
offend.
No. I don't care if I'm offending them. I didn't want to be a target.
Got it.
I didn't want to have my head shot off, and I didn't want to attract undue attention to our team, which was relatively small. We had a small security force. But then as soon as I was in the building, I was like, no, you got to deal with it. I have hair.
Yeah.
and I'm a Hanum.
And I'm in charge.
Yeah. Then we'd have these meetings, and they were fascinated, and they would say, how old are you? Right? Questions that would be completely inappropriate in our culture.
Yeah.
They'd say, how old are you? And I just turned 30. And then they'd say, you're married? And I'd say, yes. And they'd say, does your husband know you're here?
Oh my gosh.
I'd say, yes. And they say, oh, he gave his permission? And I'd say, it's not really how it works in America, but yeah, he's good with it. He's okay with it. He knows. And
we're a partnership.
Yeah. And then they would say, well, where are all of your children?
Oh my
because
gosh.
by the time you're 30 in Afghanistan, you're supposed to have a dozen kids.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, we don't have any children. And they'd say, oh, I'm so sorry. Right? Like as if I was barren.
Yeah, as if you were trying to have kids, but you couldn't.
Right. And that like God had
oh my gosh.
cursed us in some way. So those conversations, they were always, I was never offended.
Yeah.
And I was never looking to stick it to them. But it was always interesting and kind of fun to have them.
Yeah, kind of like fun to play that role.
And so my guys would be like, yeah, she's a pilot. And they'd say, oh,
sure, she does.
Yeah, right. And then
toy airplanes? What are we talking about?
Yeah. And so sometimes I would drive the trucks that we would have. And they're like, where did you learn how to drive? How did you learn how to drive? And I'd say, well, I have my own car, which blew their mind.
Yeah,
the idea that a woman would own her, I said, my husband has a car and I have a car. And
how was it for you as a woman being accepted into the military in general? Because I have a statistic here. Only 10 to 12% of pilots in the Navy are women, and even fewer go into combat. So one, I want to know, did that affect your decision at all? Did it make it harder to choose that path? Was there something you liked about it? And how did people respond to you?
So let me unpack that in a few different answers, because there's a few different questions there. One is that I did not have the awareness when I was in high school
Good for you.
or college to say, oh, what's it going to be like if I'm the only woman? Because I was never the only woman.
Even in your STEM school,
In my STEM school, we had a high ratio of women, of young girls at the time. When I was in college, I was an athlete. And so I was always surrounded by a team of literally strong women.
Yeah.
And in my engineering undergraduate program, we had several women. So
that's amazing.
Yes. And so I don't know if I just hit the timing right. I don't know if we were riding a wave of the post-Title IX changes that came out. But I never felt alone until I was in the strike fighter pipeline. And I looked around and I said, oh, where is everybody?
Yeah.
And actually, when I was going through flight school, I was in Kingsville, Texas. Texas A&M Kingsville has a women's cross-country team. And I went over to the campus and I said, can I hang out with your women?
Awesome.
Sounds weird, but, and the coach there was like, yeah, actually, he encouraged me to drive. He said, can you get the driver's license so you could drive? I don't think it was a full CDL, but it was the special driver's license so that I could drive the 15-passenger van when they had to go to meets.
No way, cool.
And,
so they were like, yeah, you're part of the team, come on
Yeah, so I
here.
was an assistant coach while I was in flight school.
Yeah.
And that gave me a few hours every day. And, I deconflicted around when I had to go and fly.
Mm-hmm.
It fed my soul to spend time with women.
So there was literally no one.
I felt very alone.
Were the men friendly towards you? Were they welcoming, or did they give you a harder time?
Yeah, I mean, there was a mixed bag. There were some, the ones who had wives and children tended to be, nicer or just like more decent in terms of being like, oh, I'm going to appreciate you as another human being. And, there were guys who maybe felt that I had taken a spot of a deserving guy or, I heard that a couple of times, but I tried to treat each of them as individuals, as I had hoped that they would treat me,
as opposed to just like fuck all the men.
Yeah,
because I would imagine the way that I would react to something like that would be, I would hope I would be like, I'll just prove you wrong, and then I'm sure that's a very isolating experience. But I could also see it on the flip side where you're just, maybe you believe them in some cases. I mean, again,
this is post 9/11. There's a lot going on. The training and the tactics and everything I was trying to learn. I didn't have a lot of time to reflect.
Yeah.
I wasn't sitting around thinking how I was going to stick it to them.
Right. Yeah, you're just doing the best.
Yeah, I was just doing, and we're going on these detachments, and then we're getting ready to go on deployment. And
were you the only woman in the Black Aces?
No, I wasn't.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How many people?
There was a trickle. So there was another woman pilot ahead of me. So we overlapped for a while, and then there was a weapons systems officer. I didn't think about being a woman or the woman. I wasn't the only woman for a while in flight school. That's where it was really hard.
Yeah. Can you tell me about what is the Code of the Warrior?
Yeah.
That term strikes me. I'm excited about it.
Throughout history and around the world, what does it mean to be a warrior? What is the code of the warrior? And what is that contract with the people of a society?
So not necessarily just in the military. Like, are we looking at samurais and
looking at samurai, looking at the French Foreign Legion.
What are the
looking
through
at
lines?
Vikings, looking at,
Whoa.
we look at everything from how do you become a warrior to what does it mean once you're in that group, and what is the code, what defines the code, meaning what are the expectations, what are the, whether it's explicit or whether it's tacit, and then what are the consequences for breaking the code.
Got it.
So if we look at the Sioux Natives, if they had somebody who acted dishonorably according to their code, they would burn down their teepee and take all of their possessions. So the individual and their family would be, unhoused for a period of time to learn that lesson. And then, catch this, everybody in that village, everybody in that tribe would then say, oh, you need a hide, you need a water vessel, you
would
need
take
a
care
thing,
of them.
right? And so everybody's saying, hey, you thought you were independent, you made this decision, you did this thing as an individual. You can't survive as an individual. You need the collective, and we're going to take care of you, right? After you've suffered a bit. So looking at all of these different cultures, looking at all of these different warrior classes and warrior groups, and then saying, who are we as warriors?
And something that would be maybe considered something that would dishonorably discharge someone in that village we were just talking about would be an act of something that's selfish and independent, generally speaking. So is the message there just like, I love that, because they're like, no, we're going to take care of you. You're going to see that the most important thing is putting the
so
good
that's
of others above your own.
Yeah, that's an example for them. And so that's why we say, hey, you have to know what our code is. We literally have the uniform code of military justice.
The way that I can relate to this, which is a little bit ridiculous, but sometimes I get in my head right about like what I would call dumb shit. Oh, I looked ugly that day. Oh, my friend didn't invite me to the party or something. And my way of zooming out is watching Grey's Anatomy. And the reason that I bring that up is because Grey's Anatomy is the show that deals with like the fragility of humanity, the sweetness of life. It makes you zoom out on things. And I think that's why people are so addicted to something like that show. To me, that reorganizes my hierarchy of values.
Mm-hmm.
While you're doing something like this and the values inflicted upon you are constantly like for the good of the community, for service.
We have 3 core values in the Navy: honor, courage, and commitment.
Honor, courage, and commitment.
We remind ourselves that the mission of the Navy is to deter aggression, and when deterrence fails, to fight and win the nation's war. So that's something that I like to correct people on. They say, oh, you go into the military because you want to kill people and blow shit up. No, we want to deter aggression.
Wow.
And when deterrence fails, we'll fight and win.
Right.
And kick your butt.
Is there any room in your brain left for that dumb shit that I mentioned?
Yes, but not very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have to ask about the UFO, but first I want to ask, and please tell me if this is an uncomfortable question, but you've obviously dropped bombs on people and stuff, on villages.
I have been involved in delivering ordnance on target on time.
Is there any feelings of like...
I would say, a lot of these, we don't target people.
Right, of course.
Right. So when we're delivering ordnance, we're looking for strategic targets that have the right impact, that have the right effect, is what we talk about effects.
Yeah.
And so we want to minimize collateral damage, especially if we're around civilians, especially if we're around an urban environment. And sometimes we're looking for what we might call a soft kill, which would be I'm gonna hit a bridge and I'm gonna take it out for 4 hours or 8 hours. And sometimes we call it a hard kill, where we say I'm gonna take out this bridge and they're never gonna be able to rebuild it. And so that's how we think about targets and dropping ordnance.
Do you have feelings towards it, like afterwards, or are you just like, this is the job?
I would say in the flying deployments that I did, it was, nothing's an arbitrary target. Everything is very controlled when we are, whether it's close air support, a call for fire for the troops on the ground, or if it's a pre-planned strike where we have coordinates before we take off. Everything is, and should be, several layers of command and control, checks and balances.
Mm-hmm.
It's not up to the individual pilot
Totally.
who's carrying the ordnance to decide when and where it's deployed.
Yeah.
Going back to kind of what's my reaction, it wasn't panic and it wasn't stress when we were getting shot at. It was really, seriously, I'm over here trying to build you a school. Like, is this what we're doing?
This is just annoying at this point.
Yes. Like, stop.
Wow.
Stop shooting at us.
Yeah. Do you feel like, I mean, I have so many more questions I could ask. Like, one, I want to know about a day of training, which is completely different from the next question.
Training in the military?
Yeah.
Like flight training?
Physical training. In my mind, they make you like hold your breath in 30-degree water for 4 minutes and like crawl through the mud.
Yeah, that's more like the Marines or the Navy SEALs. There are periods in your career where it will be physically intensive. As a runner, this was hard for me because I wanted to be lean and fast.
Right.
But when we pull G, you have to contract major muscles, especially in your lower body, to prevent the blood from pooling, from draining from your head and upper extremities. So we actually practice, if you want to do this with me.
I do.
So when I say G's coming on, now, you're going to start, and you're going to start with your feet, your calves, your quads, and your butt. Okay, and you're going to just clench them. This is called the Hick maneuver, H-I-C-K.
And G's is like when you're going too low.
So G's is when I'm pulling and you feel really heavy. So if you've been on a roller coaster, the top of the roller coaster where you lose your stomach is a negative G. That's the one that'll make you feel like you want to puke. Positive G is at the bottom of it when you go, ooh, and you start to sink down. You feel like I weigh 4 or 5 or 6 times my body weight. So that's gravitational force. And then in the jet, when we're like, oh, I want to go shoot something over there, it's G's coming on now. And then you usually add power. You pull the stick, right? The ghost in the cockpit. You just makes the jet go where you're going to go. And then if you don't contract everything, those heavy G forces are going to pull the blood out of your brain, out of your eyes. And so first you'll start to gray out. You'll just tunnel in, and then you'll black out. Your G-lock.
You'll pass out?
You'll pass out. And then that's not good because now you're not flying the airplane.
Because you're a pilot. Did that ever happen to you?
No.
Okay.
We wear a G-suit, which are these pants. They're like chaps that you put on. So when you get fitted for it, you're in the PR shop. You've got these guys who are big, burly guys, military guys. And you've got a woman. You sort of brace yourself against the wall or table as they lace, just like a corset.
I was going to say, kind of like a corset.
As they lace the G-suit.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, like, man, have we made any advancement? Here I am getting, locked into a corset. Yeah. But instead it's like, because I'm going to go fly.
Are they doing it to the men as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're doing it to everybody.
Okay.
But the, I don't know if it's irony or just the poetic, the imagery, right? Of like, I could picture a cartoonist or an artist kind of doing a side-by-side of a Victorian woman getting cinched into a corset, and then, one of these modern chick pilots getting cinched in.
Yeah. Oh, how far we've come.
Yes.
Because a woman used to just be corseted around to like prance around as this pretty little thing. Yeah. Not really have any value. And like you kind of just overcame all of that in your... Maybe
the subtitle or the caption. The caption would be, woman's work. Yeah. So, G's coming on.
Yeah, G's coming on. I've been waiting for G to come on.
Yeah. G's coming on. Now.
I'm doing my heels.
No, you're not doing it at all. If you're talking, you're not doing it. Okay. So, but it's got to start from so what you're doing is you're preventing the blood. So you start at your feet and then you work your way up. And then the last thing to clench should be your butt and then, kind of your abs muscles. So ready, relax. We're flying. Okay, G's coming on. Now.
My face feels like it's going to
get
really red.
You have to keep breathing, though. So I didn't brief this. You got to keep breathing. So it's like in a cycle, right? So.
Oh, that's intense.
Yeah, it's intense. And you can see how if you don't lift weights or do muscle work, squats or lunges or things like that, that after a couple of these, you'd be done. So when we're dogfighting, you're pulling a lot of G. And so after, you can imagine, 10 or 20 minutes of doing this.
You have to do that for 10 or 20 minutes?
Like you'll take a break in between
Wow.
but you could do it for 5 minutes straight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is the dogfighting just pure fun?
Yeah, it's fun. It's
your flow state, so maybe you're not really like
your flow state, and you're trying to optimize the jet, right? Like you're trying to get on the angles, you're trying to make sure that you have the advantage. You're trying to make sure that you have a good visual, right? You're maintaining sight of the other aircraft that you're engaged with or that are on your team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a very I haven't performed a surgery, but I've watched Grey's Anatomy, and I can imagine that it's the same kind of intense focus and like, okay, when they're done, they're like, yeah, okay, we did that.
Yeah. What's the longest amount of time you've been flying at one time?
Yeah, so off the ship in the Gulf, we have tankers airborne. So these are these large KC-135s or C-130s that hold huge amounts of fuel airborne. And then the strike fighters will come up and sip the gas off of them like an airborne gas station. And so in those flights, I've been strapped in for over 8 hours. Wow. So do you want to know how I pee?
I want to know how you pee. Yeah, great question. Diaper?
No. I tried the diaper early in flight school to see if it would work. It's a non-starter, especially, I mean, you're not going to sit in it for 8 hours.
No.
I've never had a situation where I've had to go number 2.
Wow. Your body has your back.
That's the athlete in me.
There you go.
Right? That's the runner.
You're like, I've trained for this.
Yes. For the guys, it's not that big of a deal. So the flight suit has a long zipper. No, yeah, it's because the gear is made for them. There's a zipper that goes from top down or from bottom up. Guys will just unzip, go up a little bit, whip it out, and then if they just finished a Gatorade or a bottle of water, they'll just refill it up with. It's a little trickier for us. So tell the weapons systems officer in the back seat, tell your Wizzo, hey, I'm going to safe up my seat because I don't want to eject myself while I'm just trying to take care of business.
God forbid.
Yes. So safe the seat, use the same zipper, but we would make modifications to the flight suit. So we would add Velcro in that seam.
Like you or
the guys who would do the corsets, they have these industrial sewing machines.
Wow.
And all the ability to do it. And so they would create easy access crotchless.
That's kind of a fun
flight suit.
It's kind of a fun gender role reversal.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like a seamstress for the band, but they're like male seamstresses for the like female fighter pilots.
Yeah.
You came across our desk because the movie Age of Disclosure, which Dan Farah just made, came out about people in the government seeing UFOs. And so my friend Tyler was messaging me about that, and I was like, yeah, we're going to interview the woman in the movie. And I was like, well, I don't think we're going to ask about the UFO because it's not the most interesting thing. And he was like, you have to.
So there we were. We were flying a workup, a training exercise in preparation for our deployment off the coast of California. I was brand new to the squadron. I was flying with a more senior weapons systems officer in my back seat. And I was flying on the wing of the commanding officer of the squadron. So we launched mid-morning, clear blue skies, calm waters. We were interrupted. The air traffic controller, so this is a military controller who's on another ship in our carrier strike group, says, hey, we've got a real world contact. We need you to go check it out. I'm new. I have no idea what's going on. And I say to my Wizzo in the back seat, I say, what's happening? What do you think it is? And he said, I don't know. It could be drug runners, right? Somebody in a Cessna or a small plane coming up the coast from Mexico or points south. I said, oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, fun.
Right? Yeah. And so we look outside because we should be able to get a visual tally. Someone in the flight said, hey, look at the water. There was something going on in the water. And if it hadn't been for the disturbance, I would not have been able to pick up a visual tally because as soon as I saw the water disturbance, shortly thereafter is when the UFO, enter stage left, zips across. You could tell that the other people were also picking up a tally because the excitement on the radio went from, a simmer to a roar of what is that and what's it doing and how's it doing it. And so the controller on the ship is trying to ask us what we're seeing and we're trying to ask each other what we're seeing.
And you're looking at it. It didn't just come quickly in and out of view.
No, so we're all looking at it and we each have a different story that we tell because we each have a different perspective and we each have a different length of time that we have it. It behaved very strangely. It moved in strange ways. It did not adhere to our laws of physics as we understood them. In that moment, we all realized that we were dealing with something that was not our tech, I'll just say. And so it was exciting. It was unsettling. And when we came back to the ship and gave our debrief, it was like, hey, there's something out there. I never received resolution on what it was.
So you just go to bed that night, or you're not scared or anything? You're just kind of like, crazy day on the job.
I mean, I was just like, oh man, I got to go back and land on a ship.
Right.
I have to land like an $80 million aircraft on an aircraft carrier.
I'm doing way cooler shit.
Well, it was just like, okay, what's next?
Do you think it was an alien?
No, so I don't jump to that conclusion.
You're saying I
jump to the conclusion
I'm assuming
it's a threat to national security and it's an issue of safety of flight. It would be cool if it was, in which case, yeah, let's get NASA in the room and all those scientists to talk about it. But it's a three-legged stool for me. It's national security, it's flight safety, and science that you need to approach this question of. We saw something strange that day. It was concerning to us. What we should have done is paused our training that we were in the middle of and redirected all of the available assets in that moment. All the radars.
To figure it out.
All the strike fighters, all the binoculars, all of this SLR cameras that we had on deck in order to get more and better data from different angles and different ways.
Right there.
Yeah. It wasn't until years later when I got this call from the Office of Naval Intelligence saying they wanted to talk about it. And I was like, what took you so long?
You're like, wait, what was it again that even happened?
Yeah.
Wow, that's an amazing story. It is an amazing story, though. You've had such a lifetime of adventure. I'm glad you got your adventure.
Yes.
I'm glad you're still getting it with HR.
Yes.
All right, we're going to move on to our final segment. We call our show the OK Sweetie Show because people put you in a box sometimes. They want to condescend to you. They want to dismiss you. They just want to say, okay, sweetie, whatever, What is your okay, sweetie moment?
I've had many, as you can imagine, but I would say there's a series of them that involve me going into car dealerships and being mansplained about how my vehicle works.
You're like, bitch, do you know who I am?
Right? So
I should be like, you ever seen Top Gun Maverick?
There was one where the seatbelt light was coming on the dashboard. And the guy said to me, he said, well, sometimes when women put their purse on the seat, the weight sensor, that can set it off. I had to tell him, right? Because I had already diagnosed the problem. I had already read through the manual and done everything that
You're absolutely capable of doing that.
Yes. Sure enough, it was a problem that required them to fix with their tools and technology. Otherwise, I would have fixed them. I'm not a car person. I don't want to do my own maintenance. But and then if my husband is with me, he'll slide in. But he's such a great ally. He's very proud of my service and proud of my career. So he'll slide in and he'll say like, hey, she's a strike fighter pilot. And like, she could probably draw the entire system for you if you...
God, I love it.
And then I don't know if they put a note in my file or what, but usually after I've gone a couple times, they're like, oh, hey, Yeah.
Our rapid fire is called Top Sweetie because we are the most creative people you've ever met in your entire life. And I'm going to change this question because now it seems like the dumbest thing of all time. One of them was going to be, if you're on a Delta flight and it's about to crash, could you land the plane?
So it depends on how much time we have, right? Like,
you have enough time.
Yeah. We could get in there. But if I got into the seat and had somebody on the radio that could talk me through it, and they could probably talk you through it too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you ever do the aerial tricks with the jets?
Aerobatics?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do those in flight school. That's one of the first things we do.
Cool. I'm really excited about this question. What was your call sign?
So I had a couple call signs. My flight school call sign was cardiac because it sounds badass, but my sim instructor had a heart attack while I was flying.
Wow, and they made that your call sign?
He pulled out of it. We got him to a hospital, and he came back a couple months later with his little nitro pills. He would shake at me. He was like, "Oh, cardiac." Yeah. So, but I thought it was, as a runner, as I was like, yeah, cardiac.
Yeah, it does fit.
Yeah. And then when I got to my squadron, so we have patches that are name tags before you get your call sign. And so there's generic patches that say FNG. So it stands for fucking new guy.
Love it.
And so there's FNG1 and FNG2. And I showed up at the squadron when there were 3 new guys. And so they gave the other guys those. And then they called me Cone, which stands for Category 1 pilot. So when you come in, you're a C1, you don't know anything. You're a dumb cone. And so I was so dumb that they spelled it with a backwards K. Spelled it with a K. And they're like, no, let's make it a backwards K, which was like, you're super, super dumb, new guy. But it was a huge pain in the butt because then anytime I had to type it.
Yeah.
Do you know how to type a backwards K?
Don't know.
I do. And then, so the whole thing about the FNG name tag is that the idea is that you're with the squadron for a few weeks or a few months and you do something stupid or call sign worthy, and then you go through a call sign ceremony.
Oh, fun. I didn't know
where
that.
they put it all up on the whiteboard and it's like, what are all the variations of this shameful nickname that we're going to give?
Which is like the humor thing. It's all like giving each other shit, making
ribbing.
fun of each other.
It's never like Top Gun where it's like Iceman, Maverick.
Yeah.
Like they're never cool call signs. They're like really...
They're shameful.
Yes. Inappropriate, not safe for work. And so I never did anything call sign worthy after I got the Cone call sign. And so it just stuck.
So you're cardiac.
And so it's very boring.
I like it.
I like cardiac because there's a story with it. Like, oh, this guy almost died
Yeah.
on my watch. And
no, so you were so good that you were so smart that they couldn't even make up a new call sign for you.
I was just like...
You had no shame. If you had to choose something to replicate the feeling of flying, what would it be? Flying specifically an FA-18.
There's nothing like it. The closest thing I've come to feeling the acceleration or the thrill of a cat shot, so this is where they blast you off the front of the aircraft carrier, is being in a Tesla Model X plaid and the acceleration.
Oh, wow.
It's
similar.
Yeah.
Skydiving?
I have gone skydiving. Have you gone skydiving?
I did once. And I thought, wow, there's not going to be another feeling like the cold air rushing against your face. I don't really have an interest to do it again. That was pretty scary.
So what was interesting, so that was an okay sweetie moment so I had to be strapped to somebody because it was the first time I was doing it.
Yeah.
The guy was worried about me in like the work, like as we got closer to the moment of going out of the plane, he's like, are you shutting down? And I said, no. And he said, well, normally people are freaking out at this moment, or like their heart rate's really high, or they're sweating, or they're like puking. Like he expected me to be freaking out. And that's when my friend was like, oh, she's a strike fighter pilot. And he was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Like they actually teach you how to compartmentalize your emotions.
Yeah, I just was like, I'm not uncomfortable being in an airplane for the flight up. And we did parasailing for training about how to use our parachutes. If we ever ejected, if you'd taken my pulse, it probably would have been at my resting heart rate.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
And then when we jumped, I was like, oh, then now it's going to get exciting. But it wasn't, because the sensation, it was just very loud. There wasn't a sensation of falling until the very, very end when you have the ground rush. So I was just like, oh, it's just very loud and windy. And
I'm kind of bored.
And I'm strapped to this guy who's like shouting at me. Yeah. I don't know right? And then, now the parachute's out and we're just sort of floating down. And then in those last few seconds when the ground effect, when you have that perspective, I was like, oh, now it's exciting. Mm-hmm. But it didn't give me a thrill.
Alex, you're such a GOAT woman in so many ways in all of these male-dominated industries, and just your ability to approach all of them with relative ease, from the way that I'm picking it up, from the STEM school to sports to the fighter's flight school, sorry.
Yeah.
All the terms are mixed up in my head. To then being in the most badass squadron and now doing HR and having kids and going through breast cancer. Like, you're a GOAT. What we were talking about, GOAT, you're a GOAT woman.
You can have it all. You can't have it all at once.
Yeah.
You have to show up in the moment that you're in, the season that you're in, and do the best that you can do in that job or that role, and then be ready for what's next. The first book I'm going to write is about all the crazy stuff that happens in HR.
Oh my gosh, that was an amazing conversation with Alex Dietrich. Shout out to David Fravor for connecting us with her. Everybody go watch Dan Farah's movie, The Age of Disclosure. I've never met or talked to a fighter jet pilot before, and I had no idea if there was going to be things we could connect on, but of course there always is. Thank you so much for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe. Leave us a review. Leave us a rating. Thank you so much. We love you. Thanks for being you. And you know what? Do something unconventional. If you want an adventure, join the Navy. Love you, love you. XXO, XOXO, XX, sweetie girls.